My mother has a unique way of communicating. She loves to repeat stories and viewpoints, much like a broken record. Every Friday, after a long week of work, I give her a call. Working as a computer programmer in a bustling city near the NYSE, my mind often feels like it's stuck in a loop, treating everyone and everything, including my mom, like lines of code. Conversations with her resemble running a complex program, with her stories unfolding like lines of code executed in real time. Her familiar routines and repetitive narratives play out predictably, but sometimes, when I try to steer the conversation in a different direction or assert my own opinions, it's as if I'm attempting to change the course of a running program. Often, my attempts to interject or redirect the conversation are met with resistance, much like encountering an error in a program that refuses to be corrected. Despite the challenges, I continue to call her faithfully every Friday evening. With my kids occupied and my husband asleep, it's a quiet moment when I can listen to her stories without interruption. The phone call is a lifeline connecting me to her. The phone rang and wakes my mom up at 7 o'clock in the morning in Israel. She immediately knew it's me, and always answered the call with joy. "Good morning, Mom," I said cheerfully, trying to give her a good start to the day. I glanced out the window, my view of the dark, tiring night depressing me. I waited, knowing it would take her a few moments to realize it was morning and it was me.
"Hi, baby,"
she said slowly, though I knew it was just a momentary lapse. I heard her getting out of bed, finding her slippers and going to the bathroom. "How are you, Mom?" I heard the sound of the flushed toilet and then her returning to the bed, where she had a brief struggle with her dog Sam, who had taken advantage of her absence and had jumped onto her warm, comfortable bed that smelled of her.
"What can I say? Nothing at all. I really don't know what to tell you. Everything is fine,"
she said, still trying to find her words.
"You'd better tell me how you are. How are the children? How do you feel?"
"There's not much to tell, Mama," I replied. "I'm doing okay. The kids are in school, and I'm working as usual at." Before I could finish, my mom seemed to find her train of thought, and she launched into her stories.
"Now, I remember what I wanted to tell you."
My mom interrupted me, and then I could relax. I picked up my manicure set and began working on my nails, listening to my mom and occasionally responding with, "Sure."
"I went to work yesterday."
My mom began her usual monologue. Her stories seemed to trigger a series of routines in her conversation program, causing it to loop through various topics multiple times. As she talked, I found myself with plenty of time to do my nails, sort through mail, write some checks, and even grab a snack. At one point, I must have dozed off, as I was abruptly awakened by my mom's persistent voice on the phone.
Hello, where are you?"
she exclaimed, jolting me back to reality. "Oh, Mom, I'm here," I replied groggily, trying to cover up my momentary lapse.
"Why don't you answer?"
she questioned, her tone accusatory. "I was, chewing a piece of bread," I stammered, trying to come up with an excuse.
"What time is it now in America?"
she inquired, oblivious to my predicament. "It's 1 in the morning," I admitted, realizing I had been asleep for 15 minutes, and it had cost me dearly.
"How could you eat at 1 in the morning? You have to close your mouth at 6 p.m. Do you understand?"
she scolded, launching into what I affectionately referred to as her blame routine. Usually, I would ignore her tirades, but occasionally, I couldn't resist the temptation to fire back with a sarcastic comment. "Oh, Mom, look who's talking," I quipped, unable to resist the urge to inject a bit of humor into the situation, all while facing my 5'2", 220-pound mom. "You'd better tell me about your work," I interjected. And here we go again.
"I think I told you that I work for a builder."
Of course, she did. "My mom has been working for this builder for the past 10 years. "Yeah," I nod, having no hope that this part of the story stacks somewhere in between my mom's brain cell labyrinths.
"His name is Jacob. He builds houses and businesses. You know, he builds everything. By the way, he built a house for your brother."
I knew it from the day my brother asked me to loan him some money for this house. It was 3 years ago.
"This is why it was so inexpensive. He did me a favor because I was his bookkeeper. He is basically a good guy, but sometimes he doesn't pay my salary on time. He eventually does pay, but I would prefer to get it on time because I usually have a minus."
As soon as my mom mentioned the word minus, she can't help herself, but she must to explain what minus is.
"Minus is a negative balance on an account, like a credit. Everybody in Israel lives on credit. You won't find a single person who has zero or a positive balance in the bank. This is normal for Israel. He doesn't pay me on time because he never has enough money, because he doesn't know how to run the business. He is stupid."
I can't recall why Jacob is stupid, as I never focused on that part of the narrative, because I have no interest in the way my mother, who has never run a business before, suggests running one. I know that this part of the narrative lasts for about 10 to 15 minutes, so I place the receiver on my desk and go to the kitchen to grab an apple. When I come back, the story is almost over. Perfect timing.
Oh, I forgot what I wanted to tell you from the beginning.
My mom struggled to remember. You said that something happened yesterday when you were in your office, I replied, providing her with missing information.
Oh, yes, you know that our office is located in a canyon,
she said. The canyon story didn't make me wait too long. Canyon is a Hebrew word for a shopping center. My mother has visited America on numerous occasions, and I have taken her to various shopping centers. However, she loves to explain it to me repeatedly. Sometimes, I try to interfere and change her mind from "she doesn't know" to "she knows," but it never works. My mom either ignored me or produced comments, such as,
"Why do you shut my mouth? Let me talk."
In this case, I placed the receiver on my shoulder, holding it with my head, and continued doing my nails, while my mom explained for the 127th time what a canyon is.
A canyon is a huge shopping mall with a lot of big and small stores in it. There are so many people there, you can't imagine. I saw the same kind of canyon in America. No wonder Israel is called the 51st state of America.
My mom says this last phrase very often, being very proud to live in the 51st state of the United States of America.
There are many restaurants there,
continues Mama,
including these pita places your children like so much.
Pizza. I tried to intervene again and hope that it would work.
I know.
Mom replies and continues.
They make it exactly like in America. It looks like the bottom of a shoe and tastes like rubber. Also, you can have a cup of coffee.
The word coffee my mom pronounces with a French manner, making an accent on the end of the word.
You can have your hair cut, or your nails done there, almost anything.
The canyon story ended, and Mom continued her original story. I'm always surprised that she is capable to remember what she was talking about at the beginning, after interrupting herself at every word she feels like she has to explain, but at the same time she doesn't remember that she already explained this particular word to me 2 minutes ago.
I was sitting at my desk when 2 Arabs entered.
And again, the main story got interrupted, and a new Arab narrative takes place. My mom seems to have some kind of triggering issue with this particular Arab narrative. It might be activated randomly, without any reason. It's impossible to predict when it would start and when it would end. Sometimes, this story lasts for an extended period of time, often going off topic, starting from the beginning and running in an infinite loop, but at other times, it's brief, almost like a reminder, saying, "Don't mention me, or you'll regret it."
Arabs are different from us. You may not notice the difference, but we certainly do. My builder employs them because they are affordable and do a great job. You don't come across many of them in a canyon. You know, a canyon is a huge building. Israel is the 51st state of America. There are restaurants there, including those pita places your kids love so much.
Pizza, Mom. I intervene again.
Why do you interrupt me all the time? You're talking, and I can't get a word in.
My mom reacted this time, and hopefully, it's for the best. Sorry, Mom. I quietly apologized.
This is exactly what I'm telling you. These pizza places that your children like so much tastes like rubber.
It worked.
People see that Arabs are different, but nobody touches them, and they know that they are safe. They brought their invoice to me.
The invoice story seems to have a looping issue. It always sounds twice.
An invoice is a document that shows the number of hours worked, the hourly rate, and the total amount owed.
And here we go again.
I checked the number of hours worked, the hourly rate, and the total amount owed.
I'm thankful that this is a very short narrative. In computer programming, we use loops to make the code shorter, and we can specify the repetition of the same code as many times as we want. Dealing with a loop in a programming language is quite easy. But in real life, listening to somebody who is going into a loop is not fun, unless you love the person who is looping. I finished my nails on my right hand and applied the nail polish. My right shoulder got numb, so I replaced the receiver to my left shoulder and began to open the day's mail. I discarded all the junk mail into a recycling bin and filed all the documents in their relevant folders in the drawer.
I asked the Arabs a question.
My mom continues her story.
You go through this crowd of Jews. The Jew
story is here. Long time no seen.
You know us. We are not the kind of people to take a life. Jews are not warriors. We're more likely to be scientists, like my daughter-in-law, musicians like my brother, teachers like your father, or bookkeepers like me. We are too civilized to kill anyone.
Mom, what are you talking about? How about the mission in Entebbe, Uganda? Why don't you ever mention my aunt, the house cleaner, or my cousin, the alcoholic, or my other aunt, the ex-convict? I intervene, trying to navigate the Jew story to an end before it got too late.
Why are you being so mean?
My mom asked me, her voice laced with sarcasm. I apologize, I didn't intend to be mean. Just saying. The interference works as expected, the Jew story is terminated.
I asked them, how do you feel?
I don't see my mom, but I know exactly the mimic on her face when she is trying to be so nice with strangers. Oh, I wish she always has this expression on her face when she is talking to me. But no. I always have to be scolded, taught, and blamed, but I know how much my mom loves me anyway, and I love her back.
And they replied.
My mom continues the story.
We feel blessed. Our book says that a long time ago this land was like a paradise with plenty of food and water. Then, life here became difficult and impoverished. But today, we live like we're in heaven again. We have everything we need. I have a job and earn a good wage. When my daughter wants something, I don't check my bank account. I just buy it for her, even if I have a minus. Minus is...
Mom launched into her familiar spiel once more, describing how minus indicated a negative balance. I glanced at my watch. It's getting late and I know if I don't go to bed soon, I might end up falling asleep with the receiver still at my ear.
I wouldn't want to find myself in the Arabs' crowd, but they are welcome in our neighborhood, and not be afraid of us.
Mom suddenly stopped talking. It was unexpected and a silent night whispered in my ear that it's time to go to bed. But I couldn't do it yet, because...
So, tell me about you. How is your work?
My mom asks. I had already finished looking through my mail and writing several checks. I was feeling tired, and tried my best not to fall asleep. I couldn't think clearly and began talking about the first thought that came to my mind, hoping to finish the conversation sooner. I've got a new coworker, a nice, young, and cute lady. I'm really enjoying working with her because of her youth. You know how much I love working with young people.
Is she Russian?
No, she isn't. She's Chinese.
Chinese.
My mom was taken aback. There aren't many Chinese people in Israel.
Chinese people are different. You know exactly who you're dealing with from the start. But Arabs look so much like us, but they're different.
Arab story started it so unexpectedly. I was about to go to bed, but now I realized that it was wishful thinking.
You can't see the difference.
My mom continues her Arab narratives.
But we can, even though they're not Chinese. I have lots of Arab friends, and I go to their stores because things are cheaper and better quality there. Why should I go across the street and pay 3 times more than I pay to the Arab? They're also very friendly. Once, an Arab even asked me to marry him. Can you imagine an Arab moving into my apartment? What would my neighbors say? They wouldn't even talk to me anymore. If it weren't for that, I would have considered him. To be honest, Arabs are discriminated against in our country, even though nobody wants to admit it. I often feel sorry for them. There are only a few Arabs living on our streets, but they're not welcomed anywhere, and their children don't feel comfortable in our schools.
The story stops. I didn't expect it this soon. But no, it was me who I thought too soon. Yes, I thought so too, I replied, trying to be polite, thinking of what to say next. I think that Israeli government has to do something about it, I uttered. Suddenly, the Arab narrative kicks in, causing my mom to become over-emotional. Or as I would say in my language, the hardware gets overheated. My mother's screaming voice sounded like she was witnessing a terrorist attack. The Arab narrative delves into my mom's hippocampus, navigating with the grace of a seahorse's long fin through her memory storage under the name Reasons and Consequences, and boy, what ensued. She screamed with rage into the phone, her voice carrying even if she whispered. But she couldn't contain herself, because those Arabs
don't pay taxes, which is why their streets are often in disarray. They don't follow the rules, so they don't even have streets of their own. Because of this, they don't take architecture into consideration when building, and they construct whatever they desire, whenever they want. These people come to our beaches that we built with our own hard-earned money. Israel is not just a town, it is a country. Israel needs money. We need to recognize the importance of Israel and the significance it holds in the world. Israel is the center of many languages, cultures, and religions, and serves as the mother of them all.
It's impossible to stop scanning the Reasons and Consequences memory storage. Mom, listen. I exclaimed, trying to stop the scanning.
Our country has democracy. No wonder it's called the 51st state of the United States of America.
Mom. I insisted.
Arabs use our democracy, and some misuse it. We need a strong military to protect our country, but Arabs don't serve in the military, yet they complain that the government does not provide them with the same benefits as those who do. By the way, your brother served in the Israel Defense Forces for 3 years. Arabs refuse to serve in our army. They shouldn't receive the same benefits as your brother receives.
Mom, I agree with you, I said loudly, almost screaming in an effort to insert new parameters. By the way, how is my brother doing? Thankfully, the voice detection device picked up my input.
Your brother is doing fine,
my mom replied, catching her breath. She was obviously very emotional and tired, scanning such a large storage. I considered asking my mom something else to activate the program for another 20 minutes, but decided against it. Ma, it's getting late. I'm tired, I'm going to bed.
Okay.
My mom sighed.
Baby, but you didn't tell me anything about yourself.
Even though I had little interest in what she was saying, I still loved to hear her voice. But it was too late, and I was too tired. I had already finished my nails, checked my mail, and written all the checks I needed. It was time for bed. Mom, there's nothing new. I'm too tired. I'll call you next Friday. Good night. I carefully hung up the phone, missing my mom even before she finished speaking. I can never wait for our conversations to end, yet I find myself longing for her presence the moment we say goodbye. It's a strange feeling, but that's just how it is.